Hey all, welcome back to my channel and thank you very much for tuning in. Before we begin with today's episode, I just want to make a huge thank you to everyone who wished me a happy birthday on the weekend. I was absolutely inundated with people sending me messages wishing me happy birthday, and it meant a lot to me, so thank you. Also, great big shout out to my mate Greg over at GMG News for his continued support. He still sends his viewers over every day. He gives me almost daily shout out, so thank you very much, Greg, for everything you're doing for me. Okay, so for today's episode we're going to be looking at my top 5 fursuit makers that you might not have heard of. Now these are going to be not the big name brands like DHC or Mixed Candy, but more the fursuit makers that, you know, maybe a few furries in your local group might have heard of, but they're not that very well known. Okay, so before we get into the list of my top 5 fursuit makers you probably haven't heard of, I just want to go through some of the rules that I put in place just to establish this list and to sort through the thousands of fursuit makers out there to pick some for you that you probably haven't heard of, because everyone's done lists of the greatest and the finest out there, but it's always the same makers, so I wanted to bring you something fresh and new. So the first rule that I went with was I wasn't going to pick any fursuit maker that had more than 1,500 likes or followers, or whatever metric you use to count people who like your work, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those sorts of places. So I wouldn't go above 1,500 likes or followers or whatever. The second rule that I went with is it had to be suggested by someone other than the maker themselves. So if someone who had purchased a fursuit from them, or someone who just plain liked their fursuits told me, I'd consider them for the list. But if the maker themselves advertise the work, you know, I appreciate you trying to get your work out there, but I wasn't going to include it in the list. The third and final rule I was going to go with is that they cannot be fursuit makers that I already know about before making this video. They have to be completely fresh to me, because you know, I know dozens of fursuit makers that I've liked to have included in this list, but I think they're a little bit too well known. So I wanted to go for completely fresh stuff for you guys. And with these rules in place, what I did is I went out to a few furry Facebook groups, Twitter groups, that kind of place, even a few Telegram chats, and I asked people to show me their fursuits and tell me who made them. And from that, I went through to have a look at those fursuit makers myself, any that I hadn't heard of. I had a good browse of their galleries, and I compiled this list based on what I saw. With that in mind, here comes my top 5 list of fursuit makers you might not have heard of. Okay, so coming in at number 5 is a fursuit maker called Aussie Studios, who are, surprise surprise, from Australia. If you look them up on Facebook, they have just 82 followers on there, so they are a really new operation. They're just starting out. That does mean that, you know, their work might be a little bit rough in places. There might be a visible seam here and there, but there's nothing, you know, massively visible that ruins their work. And at the price point they're selling at, they are really worth the money. What really impresses me about this fursuit maker is, despite being new to the game, they don't seem to have any fear about complex markings or bright colours or any of the, you know, real complex stuff, even when working on the face of the fursuit, where people are going to be paying the most attention. So it really is worth checking their stuff out. They have a Facebook page and I believe a website. I'll put links in below, so please check out their stuff and, you know, drop them a like. They're well worth checking out. Okay, so coming in at number 4 on my list is a little maker from the UK called Jaws and Paws UK. They're from Worcester in the UK. They got about 1,200 followers on Facebook, so they're a little bit more well known than the last entry. What I love about this fursuit maker is the clean, crisp lines of their work, especially on the faces, the incredible smiles they give their fursuits. I was looking through the gallery and I was loving everything I saw. There wasn't a single fursuit that I didn't like, so please go check out their stuff. In addition to their Facebook page, they also have a website where they've laid out their price list. They seem to have a full range of fursuit options, and it's definitely worth checking out. So please swing by there, tell them I sent you if you want, drop them a like, have a look at their stuff. In third place on my list of fursuit makers you might not have heard of is actually a Polish fursuit maker. And this is a fursuit maker called KryingStudio, spelt with a K. They can be found over on Twitter, and they seem to have about 200 followers, so they're pretty small time in that respect. They've been in operation since 2019, so fairly new operation, only a couple of years, but still worth checking out. So I really struggled to find any flaws with their designs. I really think they are a top-notch maker. I really love their design for their noses. I think they're quite unique. And I love the fact that, just like the others on this list, they're not afraid to tackle complex patterns or bright colours on the face where, you know, people are going to be looking and applying the most scrutiny. So please go check out their stuff. I'll put links to their Twitter, their Instagram and their website in the links below. So yeah, check them out. Okay, so coming in at number 2 on my list, and with 1,400 followers, they are the most popular on my list by total number of followers, is Fionka Fursuits. I believe I pronounced that correctly. A maker from mainland Europe. So I really love the toony style to their heads, and the fact that, you know, just like the others on this list, they've got no fear of tackling complex patterns or, you know, bright colours or anything like that. But what I really love about this maker is their bodysuits. They've got lovely bodysuits. So everyone else on this list, they do decent bodysuits, but Fionka Fursuits, their bodysuits are on a whole nother level. So go check them out. I've put links into the description below again. So please go check them out. Go have a look in their gallery and you'll see for yourself. Okay, so here it is, the top dog, the best of the best. Of all the fursuit makers that I encountered during research for this video, this is, in my opinion, the creme de la creme of them all. And that is Pup Productions. Now, they are a fursuit maker from California over in the US. And they've been in operation since 2004. And what gets me is, even though they've been going that long, they only have 600 followers. And I think it's just criminal that they've only got that many followers, because, you know, looking at their work, they are far more deserving than that. What attracted me to these fursuits is the absolutely amazing shape of the heads. The great big smiling grins are spectacular. And the intricate work they've done on the teeth, I absolutely love it. Not only do they offer fursuit commissions, but they'll also do head-based commissions for you as well. So if you want to, you know, just pay a little bit of money and complete it yourself, you can get that from them. So please go check out their link in the description below. They are well worth checking out. And in my opinion, of all the fursuit makers that I discovered while compiling this list, these are my favourite. So yeah, that was my top 5 list of fursuit makers that you may not have heard of before. I certainly hadn't heard of these guys before. You may have heard of them, you may not have. The point of the video was to focus on fursuit makers that are a little less known than the usuals. There were so many more fursuit makers out there that I wanted to include in this list. I mean, some were just absolutely spectacular, and the only reason I didn't include them is because they already had a much larger following, and I wanted to focus on the little guys for this. I may do a follow-up video where I go for, like, you know, the more well-known fursuit makers out there. Please check out the links below to all the fursuit makers I mentioned. Also, while you're there, check out the link I've dropped in there below to Conifer's Creations. They are the company that made my fursuit, so well worth checking out as well. So as always, drop a like, maybe subscribe, definitely drop some comments, and let me know who your favourite fursuit makers are. Other than that, you all have a good day and take care out there, okay? Ta-ra.